Boy, we're always happy to welcome back the one and only Brian Baldinger to join us here, the man who makes football fans smarter on Twitter and on the radio as well. Baldy, how are you, pal? It's good to see you, and you're even joining us on the Zoom. This is special.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, it's technology here, Damon. Larry, it's good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Good to be with you. It's Football Friday. I'm here at home in New Jersey right now. I'm heading to Kansas City in the morning, but the local high school team is playing. I can hear the band. There must be a 7:30 kickoff. I can hear the band like inside my house here, man. It's Friday Night Lights. It's fun.
I love a high school band. I got a high school band that I can hear from my backyard, and I love the sound of football in the distance. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. I do. Baldy, you are heading to, the prettiest girl in the room is that Buffalo Kansas City game, and we'll get there. But obviously, we want to have you on to talk about the 49ers in Atlanta. And if styles make fights, you're talking about two of the most run on first, second, and third down football teams there are in the NFL right now.
You know, it's interesting because, last week, obviously everybody saw the roughing the passer penalty by Grady Jarrett on Tom Brady with just under 4 minutes to go that would have gotten the Falcons off the field. But, they were down 21-0 in that game. And they came back in the game basically running the ball. And they were running it with two rookies, Caleb Huntley, a local kid, and Tyler Algier, who's a rookie out of BYU. And they were running it like right at the Bucs with Vita Vea and the whole group there. And they didn't shy away from it. And they were really good at it. They had a number of big runs. Mariota had a big run. You have to always account for him. He's still fast. He's still elusive. So, they can run it. Their best back, Cordero Patterson, won't play, but these two young guys are pretty good though. So I wouldn't sleep on that at all.
It's funny, you talk to a quarterback, Baldy, if they love a receiver, they'll say, man, he'll go get it for you. He'll go get it for you. Because there's a lot of 50-50 balls, and you gotta have trust in your guys. Talk to me about Drake London, because I loved him at SC. Didn't love him in the draft process, Baldy, because when I watched all the film, I didn't see any separation, and I was a little worried about the foot speed against NFL corners, and he still doesn't get a ton of separation. But, man, in the red zone, you can post him up. He's got great ball skills. What do you see with London?
I see, he's the first receiver taken, and, he came off an injury, but he looks good. He looks good. He caught a number of passes last week. I don't think they use him enough. His length is, it's Mike Evans. He's Mike Evans without maybe the top flight speed that Mike has, but that's kind of what he reminds you of. I mean, he's just a big frame. He's got a big wingspan. He'll go down to the shoelaces and grab it. I mean, he's just a really good athlete. Comes out of his breaks very smooth in what he does. And so he wears number 5. Pretty easy to find him on the field. Kyle Pitts wears number 8. He'll be out there this weekend after not playing last week. I mean, it's not the Warriors front line, but they're a basketball front line, with NFL receivers.
Brian, so Kyle Pitts, you say he is going to be back out there this week. I'd say that he and George Kittle share a couple of traits. Supreme athletes, hard to cover, yet somehow underutilized in their own passing games. How come Kittle and how come Pitts aren't targeted the way that the Chiefs go out, hunting Travis Kelce?
Well, Travis is just a different beast. They call play after play after play for him. And then when things do break down, he's the first guy that Mahomes looks for. He's just different than everybody else. For George, he caught 5 passes in the first half all last week. I don't think he was targeted. He might not even been targeted in the second half.
He wasn't.
So it was good to see him at least involved in the first half. He's such a good blocker that they use him primarily to do that first and receive second. And for Kyle Pitts, I can't figure it out. I really can't. Even last year, I remember watching him in his first game last year. And in the red zone, he wasn't even on the field. And I thought this is the most bizarre thing ever. Every single analyst that looked at him said, this is going to be the ultimate red zone threat. And he wasn't even on the field. And I never really talked to Arthur about it, but I did mention it on Twitter and some other places like this can't happen. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on and why they shy away from him. and sometimes he looks invisible, even though you can't take your eyes off him because of the way that he moves.
Baldy, the guy I can't take my eyes off of is Greenlaw for the Niners. It's just like, we talk about Bosa, we talk about Hufanga, Jimmy Ward. I mean, to me, Greenlaw is the best player on this defense. He is flying everywhere. He loves collisions. He can detonate on the running back. He attacks the mesh point. He's doing things in coverage. You can't really fool him. What are you seeing with Greenlaw? Because his production this guy's like 30 tackles in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. 57 is everywhere. But he also embodies just the way this whole defense is playing. I mean, you could go and look at all the stats, and they're number one in every category, just about. But you just have to watch him play. Nobody's playing faster and more physical. I mean, and then the thing I think that Dre has, you got to give him credit for. I mean, he used to play a little bit out of control. He'd be a little late to the party. He'd get the flag thrown. He was, that kind of stuff. And
bad flag in Chicago. Bad flag in Chicago.
Yeah. Okay. But that was, I don't see, you're right, but that used to be pretty weakly with him a year ago. I don't see that from him now. I feel like he's playing as fast as ever, seeing things lickety-split, but he's not out of control. And so there's a little bit of a fine line there, especially for linebackers, because they want to hit everything that moves. But, everybody's got their flag, in their hands here in this league, so you don't need that coming out. But I'm with you. I think this group plays literally, that kind of sounds silly, downhill. Where else are you going to go to make a tackle? But they do come after you. The three of them, Freddie and Hufanga and Dre. And when they come after you, they don't miss.
You know what I think, Baldy, might be one of the best attributes the 49ers defense has showed us early going here, as a parade of roughing the passer flags have come out. As aggressive a defense getting to the quarterback as you're going to find has not drawn many of them. I mean, they really haven't. For a team that gets after the quarterback, they do it within the frame of a rule book, which obviously is up for interpretation by the play. What do you think of the latest round of roughing the passer epidemic that we went through in week 5? And how do you think the 49ers have yet to join this conversation, considering they're so aggressive?
Well, I think it was a complete overreaction last week, whether it was Grady Jarrett or whether it was Chris Jones or even, what Sauce Gardner did, on the opening play against Teddy Bridgewater. I just think it was a complete overreaction. The rules are in place for what they can do. I've seen, and to the players' credit, and 49ers and Aaron Donald, some of these guys that get to the quarterback, they've adjusted the way they hit quarterbacks. And that's what kind of bothered me about the Grady Jarrett tackle, is that what's happening now, Bosa does this, Aaron Donald does this, they get to the quarterback, they take him down, but they throw him across their body. So that literally their body isn't the first thing, the quarterback's body is the first thing that hits the ground. They roll them over on the ground over themselves. It's like what you would do to your brother when you're, at summer camp. Like you would, you wouldn't exactly throw him into the Buick. You might just kind of roll him down on the ground, roll him over you. I feel like players have adjusted. They're adjusted. I think there's a way to do it. I think there's a way to, like I saw Max Crosby, hit Patrick Mahomes the other night. I thought I was watching the Pro Bowl. Like he just wrapped him up and whistle blew and they let him go. And I thought that's why they stopped the Pro Bowl, because that's how people were tackling. Like we can't have that. We got to take these guys to the ground. There's too good of athletes that will escape you if you do that. So I feel like the 49ers have been coached to understand the rules. You can't go below the knee. You got to stay off the head. Don't leave at the crown of your helmet. I just feel like they have watched a lot of film. I'm just guessing. I don't know that for a fact. I bet you they've watched a lot of film. A lot of hits have been flagged, and they've learned from it, because you're right. They're not guilty of those infractions, but I think there's a reason why.
Yeah, you can see it. You can absolutely see it. They're thinking about not just getting to the quarterback. It's not a singular mindset. It's a get to the quarterback and don't draw the penalty. The guy that's really amazing to me when I watch him, the way he can contort his body at 250, is Samson Ebukam. Ebukam literally gets parallel to the line to the ground, and he's just a freaky athlete. When you watch Atlanta and Jake Matthews at left tackle and their right tackle is the UW Husky Caleb McGarry, how do you see them standing up? Even if Bosa can't go, let's say, how do you see them standing up against the Niner edge rushers?
It's not a great matchup for the Falcons. It just isn't because, what you're describing, Drake Jackson has a lot of it too, is these guys that can their ankles just bend. They're just flexible. Not everybody can do it. I mean, they can literally turn a corner at a 45-degree angle and not face plant. Not every athlete can do it. In fact, some are just really stiff. And that's kind of what I think the two tackles for Atlanta. They're big. Both of them are 6'6", 6'7". They're both big, but I don't think they bend particularly well. And that will be a problem for them when they get guys that can really turn the corner, like a European sports car. When they turn it like that, it gives them problems. And what they have to concern themselves with and not being in a position where it looks like they're taking them to the ground. And that's when the flag could come out on offensive tackles.
If he were a European sports car, he wouldn't be a European sports car. He'd be a truck. Brian Baldinger joining us here on 95.7 The Game. So, look, maybe the most interesting thing that happened on Thursday Night Football last night was Al Michaels, taking a shot. Daniel Snyder right in his crosshairs. And it feels like, Al has always had a wider berth than most broadcasters since he's the top of the food chain. But for him to levy the concept of, they don't even really want to vote Daniel Snyder out. They would just like him to sell. It feels like somebody said, Al, you go ahead and you make sure you put that on the broadcast. Do you think there is a slow-moving coup against the Washington Commanders owner?
Well, I think they've been going after him for a long time, Damon. What Al did last night, we've never heard a broadcaster do before, about anything in the league. Normally, that's a pretty strong statement that Al made last night, as you referenced. But I feel like this has been going on and on and on. And, Dan Snyder has dug his heels in. And he fought getting the name changed. He's fought, his role with the team. And I don't think this is his lifetime dream. He grew up a Washington fan, watching it with his family. And I don't think that he's going to be pressured into selling. But if they keep coming after him the way they keep coming after him, I don't know that he's going to have a choice.
You're going to be doing Buffalo and Kansas City, and I know you're probably partial to Kansas City, but I like Kansas City in this game. I just like the way I just love watching Andy Reid call plays. I just feel like when they need to show up, they do. This is a game they need to show up. But I wanted to ask you specifically about the two quarterbacks. You got Mahomes and you got Allen. If you were building your team, do you see one as better than the other? Are they 1 and 1A? How would you compare the two?
Well, I'm a little partial. I think I did Patrick Mahomes' first start at Texas Tech. I was doing Big 12 games back then. I spent a lot of time in Lubbock back in those days. He's my favorite player in the league. I think he's the best player in the league. There's nothing not to absolutely love about Josh Allen. What he did to Pittsburgh last week, I've never seen an opposing quarterback ever do to Pittsburgh. Like, he just rifled them, making Pittsburgh look like the JV in that game, and that's hard to do to that franchise. But I would take Patrick Mahomes over every player in the league at any position. He's just the best player. Like, nobody. But to their franchise's credits, I think Josh Allen is the perfect fit in Buffalo. He understands the fan base, the city, what they're chasing, the history, and Kansas City is just embraced Mahomes. He's done the same. Like, they're just webbed in the fabric of their communities, and they just know how to act. They don't have to try. They're just perfect fits for what they do.
Full slab of baby backs or the pulled pork? What's your first round draft pick?
Well, here's the thing, Damon, is I'm getting there early. I know that. You want to see Mahomes in the field, like he's down there talking to the trainers and all the equipment people 4 hours before kickoff. You want to say hello to them, you got to get there. But, the tailgaters are there 6 hours before. And I just got to know these tailgaters over the years. So I just go up to them and what's on the grill? Like, I'm sampling. The whole time. Like, nice. I don't have to go to a restaurant. I'm just going to the parking lot. And I'm just going to, just sort of welcome myself.
That's the way to do it. And
Seriously,
I'm sure you're going to be, how cool is it? We're having a tailgate, and here comes Brian Baldinger. What I think we need is a Baldy breakdown on some grilling techniques.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, some people like the rub. Some people have their sauce. Some people do things differently to the brisket. I mean, there's a lot to break down when it comes to barbecue.
Baldy, you are the man, and you're the man to do it. Thank you so very much for joining us. Have a safe trip, brother.
See you, Larry. See you. All right, Damon. Enjoy the game this weekend.
Thank you so much. One of the best.
Good dude.
That's the guy right there, Brian Baldinger. Thank you so much for joining us, Brian.